I personally think not enough people really understand what the FSD beta is for, and maybe that has something to do with the name, but in today's video, I kind of wanted to explain why Tesla's approach to solving autonomous driving is pretty much the best one out there, and I think they're miles ahead of everybody else, even if, since it makes mistakes, people don't seem to view it that way. I think there's too many people out there that don't really understand what the term beta is, because it's kind of a vague terminology. A lot of people interpret beta as in, that means it's just about done. That means, like, there's basically just a few minor tweaks that we have to provide, but we can probably agree on naming that, like, yeah, maybe Tesla shouldn't call it full self-driving beforehand. I know that Tesla's intention is that one day this will become full self-driving, so that's why we're calling the software package that, but in my view, just calling it enhanced autopilot or partial self-driving or something like that, it would be very Elon fashion to even say not full self-driving. I think that would probably even work, just to get regulators off their back and to get a lot of the negative press off of this. But essentially, the purpose of the beta program is to find the mistakes, because there's so many edge cases when it comes to driving vehicles across millions and millions of miles with weird scenarios of bad weather, certain cars behaving weird, drunk people driving around, hard turns, blind corners, and all of that really can't be emulated, and it's not even really practical or scalable to act like you can test all of that stuff internally. I'm sure Tesla does just as much as Waymo does, or dozens of other autonomous driving startups. Like, you can hire a team of software engineers to get inside a car with a bunch of sensors, drive it around, and kind of correct it when it makes a mistake, but you're just going to collect far less data than if you actually start slowly and gradually rolling out your software that is not perfect. That's why they give it the term beta, in order to figure out what the limitations of the system are. And everybody who is on the FSD beta has a little button on the screen. Whenever the beta does something horribly wrong or even just slightly off, you can report it, and then that data of the car gets saved. All of the visuals surrounding the car is documented and sent back to the hardware team. And basically now, since Tesla has this complicated, intricate safety score process, they can, with a mild amount of certainty, because, you know, the safety score algorithm is not perfect. There's oftentimes doing a more dangerous thing could result in you preserving your safety score, or doing the safe thing results in damaging your score. So I agree the algorithm should be better, but with a better than average certainty, Tesla can give the self-driving software to the people who want it and press the FSD button and then get their safety score high enough and get much more data collected from a global fleet of vehicles. Right now, they're only activated in 3 countries, but I'm sure that will scale in time. And no other company that takes the approach of, we don't want our customers to be beta testers. We're gonna, you know, delay Blue Cruise until next year because we really want to get the software right. None of those legacy auto approaches, or even tech company startups like Waymo or Zoox, you're not going to be able to train your vehicle's algorithm or find those infinite edge cases out there nearly as quick as Tesla's approach, which is just basically collecting as much data as it can, hearing all those reports of incidences or disengagements or takeovers. And I think my more frustrating part is that a lot of people get behind the wheel of FSD beta and just think, oh my god, why isn't this perfect? You know, why isn't this doing everything I want it to? When they don't really fully grasp the concept that the purpose of this program is to find mistakes. It's literally being rolled out because Tesla wants it to get better, and they want it to improve at an exponentially faster rate than everybody else. And that's what this public beta allows for. There's also way too many people out there that don't seem to grasp that Tesla is not rolling out this beta software on everyday people's cars. It's not like grandma who bought a Tesla last month is suddenly gonna get in the car and then the car just starts driving and makes all these mistakes. I know that sounds ridiculous, but there's legitimately people on Twitter and in comment sections on YouTube that I see very regularly thinking to themselves like, man, I'm gonna think twice before I ever get in a Tesla, or I'm never getting into a Tesla because I've seen some of the mistakes it made in this one beta video. It's like, guys, if the software was so perfect and was so reliable that you could just sit there and be comfortable and actually utilize it as a feature complete option, there wouldn't be a point to this beta program. There wouldn't be a need to screen people and only allow it to certain safety scores. There wouldn't be YouTube videos of people riding around in the beta and checking for updates and seeing if the beta performs better. All of that would be pointless if it was good enough to be like an actual feature where you turn it on and then you sit back and relax and you just enjoy the ride. That's the end goal. That's what everyone's hoping to get to, but I don't think enough people realize the complexity autonomy and the edge cases and how much neural net training and how much artificial intelligence needs to be applied from hundreds of millions of miles autonomously driven before we can get to that point where this is feature complete. Like, there's either too many people out there that are like, why don't they just test this internally? I don't want them testing it on public roads with paying customers. They should just hire some software engineers to drive around and find all the edge cases. Okay, first of all, that would literally take like 100 times longer because you can collect far more edge cases of construction zones, tight corners, bad weather when you're actually collecting data from, you know, tens of thousands of cars compared to hiring like 1,000 software engineers, which is not cheap, by the way, and having to pay for the cars that you're gonna test in and try to develop all of that stuff internally. It would just not happen. And I appreciate personally Tesla's urgency on the matter because I think there's too many people that are like, why does the car need to drive itself? Like, who cares? I'll just drive it myself. Or there's too many people out there I've seen say, FSD is trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. Guess what? There is a problem that exists. People dying on the roads due to human drivers being really, really bad. It happens literally every 10 minutes and no one cares because it's just become a given that, oh yeah, people die in car accidents, people die on the freeway all the time. And because it's so normalized, we don't think about how many lives are lost every single year just to people checking their phone, drunk driving, or just driving around sleepy, or some people just not paying attention to their surroundings. And according to data from the NHTSA, we are getting worse. We're actually becoming more distracted drivers. And sure, it's very easy to sit back and say, well, you know, I'm not in favor of everyone dying, but we should just have more rigorous traffic training. We should just make sure people are better drivers. Okay, good luck with that. If you find a scalable and applicable way to ensure that everybody becomes a perfect driver overnight, feel free to let me know. But making vehicles safer and making them more autonomous to the point where they can become superhuman levels of accurate and the car driving itself will never check its phone, it will never get drunk, it will never get distracted by its surroundings, and it can fully pay attention to everything surrounding it, and that will result in a far safer experience, as Tesla has already proven with their autopilot safety data. This is a problem, and we're just getting too complacent with how many people die every year. So I do think it's okay for Tesla to say, okay, this is the course of action for us to develop a more autonomous vehicle network and cars that are safer than human drivers as fast as we possibly can. You know, I don't think this is something that we should just sit by and say, you know, it might take longer to do it without public testing, and it may be more expensive to just hire software engineers to drive the car around, so let's just wait, you know, 50 to 100 years and, you know, let millions of people die in the process. No, I genuinely think it's a great thing that Tesla is trying to be fast and safe at the same time, because of course you don't want people dying in your beta development process, but thankfully, as of recording this, no one has crashed on FSD beta. So it's made a lot of mistakes, and of course it asks you to pay attention. It wants you to be ready to take over for a reason, because the purpose of the program is to find mistakes. It's not to check it out with a few thousand people, and if that 1,000 people like it, we'll give it to a few more 1,000 people. No, it's not feature complete, okay? This is not meant to be like an early access video game of like, ooh, okay, I like the game. I'll let you know, Tesla, what I think about this feature. No, this is like a, if you're on the program, be ready for it to make mistakes, because we are going to document those mistakes, record them, and try to make the software better over time. And if there are people willing to help out with this beta and help make the software better, they are like indirectly going to save lives, I think, in the long run. So I don't see this as a minor, insignificant distraction of Tesla that they shouldn't really be focusing much on. They should just build cars. I know that Tesla's timelines don't hold up, and I've been very open about how I doubt Elon's timelines, and I don't really think they're going to achieve level 5 autonomy within the next year or two. But I do think out of all companies pursuing autonomous driving, this is the fastest and more effective way to do it. Developing your own custom silicon, developing supercomputers that can interpret all of this data and allow for superhuman levels of learning, as well as using your customers, which some people look at this as a downside. I think it's a genius idea. Let customers pay you to actually have the privilege of testing out the beta software, because we've already seen there are tens of thousands thousands of people out there willing to try out the beta, willing to help Tesla reach this goal. And yeah, having each of those customers pay Tesla $10,000 or $200 a month, that's a lot smarter financially, because if your mindset was, okay, let's just pay every beta tester, then Tesla would struggle to be more profitable, and then they wouldn't have as much money to spend on hiring more software engineers, hiring AI specialists, and hiring people to build out the Dojo supercomputer that can accelerate this neural net training and make the cars safer faster. I think too many people look at things from one perspective and just think, oh, that's crazy that someone had to pay money for this software package and now they have to beta test the incomplete software. But in reality, there's not really a way to internally develop the software to make it good enough to deploy to all vehicles. You can either do the Waymo approach, where you like geofence everything heavily, prevent the car from making left turns, and have a bunch of technicians behind a computer screen ready to take over the car and tell it what to do all the time, and it only works in like a handful of cities. Or you can take this approach and make any car capable of driving itself anywhere in the globe, and once it gets really, really good at that, you could one day theoretically wake up to all Teslas being autonomous. And that is far more scalable, that's going to save far more lives, and it's far more practical to make sure that you don't need to get an HD map of a road or a city before the car actually drives there. Because in the real world, roads are changing, signs move, and roads get repaved or new roads get approached, and it's not going to be practical to have a software company come out and remap every single road change that happens along the way and tell them exactly where they gotta go every time there's a slight change in the road. So Tesla's solving a real world problem. They're doing it in the fastest, most effective way possible. And yes, that involves a process of finding issues, finding errors. That does not mean that it's going to work perfectly at all. That in fact means quite the opposite. If it was working really, really well to the point that you could just relax and enjoy it, we wouldn't be doing this beta process. There would not be a safety score thing. They would just roll it out. But to get to that point where it is a feature that people can just sit back and appreciate and let the car do the driving, we're gonna need to go through this rigorous and painful and long beta period, which I think could easily last multiple years. I don't think this is gonna be figured out by the end of next year or the year after that. And frankly, even at Tesla AI Day, I think more people need to give Elon and Tesla some credit. They were not coming forward saying that this would all be feature complete and robotaxis would be done by the end of 2021. Yes, they've made those kind of mistakes before, where they made promises too prematurely, like they did back in 2019 with Autonomy Day, but they've changed their tune now to say, like, it comes when it's ready. They're no longer saying there will be 2 million robo-taxis by the end of next year. He's just kind of saying, we're gonna do our best, and we're gonna work as hard as we can, and I admire that. You know, you kind of need an optimistic view like Elon to even attempt these crazy things. Because if you were a pessimistic person that didn't believe this stuff was possible, you wouldn't be trying to fix it, and you wouldn't even get as close as Tesla has already. So I personally find FSD beta mind-blowing. I love watching all the videos about it, and I'm hoping very, very soon I'll be able to be in a vehicle and document my reaction for you guys as well. So stay tuned for that. Shouldn't be much longer, and feel free to let me know your guys' opinions on how Tesla's been handling the beta down below. And once again, thank you to everyone over on Patreon that's been supporting the Tesla Fund, so that hopefully I can do some FSD beta videos in the future. If that's a little bit of an indicator of how long the beta will take, yes, I do still think FSD will be in beta by the time I get my car, but that's okay because I will happily let it drive around and correct it when it makes mistakes. If it allows the software to get better and that results in saving lives, absolutely, I'm willing to pay for it. So thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.